another week, another fragrance bonanza. And what I can say is that this week we officially started the fake British spring. We have days that start at 1 degree Celsius and sometimes they go up to maybe 20. So you can understand, if you're a frag head, that you will need very peculiar fragrances that can sustain the lowest temperatures, almost freezing temperatures that is, but they can also work when it gets substantially warmer. So this is mostly just perfumes. I am Max, and let's talk about what I was wearing this week. So I will try to speed run through this week as quickly as possible, and the reason why I want to do that is because for some of the fragrances that we will see on the list, I am already planning some maybe in-depth reviews, or perhaps to bring them in together in clusters and smaller lists that perhaps are themed. So yeah, I don't want to spend too much into detailed notes and descriptions. So let's keep this light and swift. So talking about swift, let's start quickly with Monday. This is what I've been wearing this week on Monday, and this is Overture by Amouage, and from my perspective this is one of Karine Vincent-Spenner's masterpieces. It's known as the Orange Beast, and self-intuitively from the color of the juice this is already giving you some ideas on what this is about. Overture is all about the initial bitter grapefruit that you're getting, but then it's a very complex fragrance. It's nicely structured, and then the journey takes you through the resinous aspects. You have a myrrh that is really important in its core, but then you also have the smoky element and some animalics as well. The idea that I get from Overture is the idea of like a high-end theater or club environment, right? With some people who have been drinking and smoking, so you get all those elements together. And it's a very luxurious scent, a very high-end scent, I would say. Not just because of being Amouage, but just the scent impressions, scent imagery that come to my mind. So moving on quickly to Tuesday, what I've been wearing was Paddock from Hermes, right? The reason why I've been wearing it, quite simply, is because I wanted to do a dedicated review, so I wanted to experience it fully, and you will see, and I don't know if it will come up before this video or after, there will be a dedicated video to Paddock itself, to my first wear, my experience. What I can say is that I was positively impressed. Again, some comments as per usual on the pricing aspect, but in terms of my general experience with the Hermes lineup, I think this is quite good. I thoroughly enjoy it. It's a time-bound release, so it's something that you need to pick up during certain periods of the year, right? Whenever Hermes releases it, and it's a yearly release now, for what I understand. Anyways, what Paddock is about, it's the essential, and I agree on that, as per the name, it's the recreation of the scenario, the scent of a horse show jumping event. So you get all the hay, you get the animal hide scent, and that has been really represented in the scent journey of Paddock. I sprayed Paddock in the very early morning on Tuesday. It has a decent lasting power. You'll easily get to 7-8 hours, so it's solid from that perspective. But in the evening, I had a shower. I wanted to feel refreshed, and I went for a second Hermes that day. So as you can see, this is Hermes Terre d'Hermès Eau de Toilette. What can I say about it? A classy and classic by definition, perhaps the most classic fragrance that you can get from a designer nowadays. Very uplifting. It has that typical flinty element that comes with the EDT version, that from my perspective is currently still the best in the line. So yeah, that was my Tuesday. On Wednesday, I wasn't expecting a super warm day, and I worked from home, so I decided to go with something a little bit on the darker side. As you can see, this is Quoium from Orto Parisi. And this is it's an incredibly good synthetic rendition of leather. It is a dark fragrance. It starts with a very tarry, birchy, dry and smokiness, most likely coming from violets, right, as it typically happens. And then the journey brings you through a descent into incense as well. Not super churchy, more smoky and dark than the typical frankincense vibe that you get. So less of that churchiness. That's how I can say it. As all the fragrances from this Orto Parisi line, it is an extrait de parfum, and it behaves like an extrait de parfum. Good projection for the first couple of hours, but I do not really believe, and I don't really get into that kind of narrative of it's been beastly, right? After the first couple of hours, it will be present, it will last for like maybe more than 10 hours, and it will stay there. It will radiate from your skin moderately, so maybe 10-20 centimeters, and it will be there with you for the whole day. So substantial in terms of longevity, but not explosive. You will not saturate rooms and all that kind of thing that you might hear from other channels, right? This is the reality of what you're getting with mostly all of the Orto Parisi line. There are some exceptions, less performing, but yeah. So this is my experience with Quoyum. Then later on during the day, I had a shower, so I wanted to refresh with another fragrance in the evening. So what I went for, my first Miguel Matos of the week, this is Twisted Tuberose, which is a very quirky scent, and I was reading about how Miguel describes it, and essentially this is one of the scents, perfumes that he developed during the infamous lockdown, right? So one of those, and I don't think that, as you can see, the pink tag is random, right? Obviously, tuberose you can associate to the pink color, but I think here he's been clever, because what you get essentially, and what this reminds me of, is the Hubba Bubba chewing gums, right? Which has that pinkish kind of taste, right? But it's also dry at the same time. And what he's done here, this is a relatively linear scent from my perspective, but the genius element is that he added a piney, sappy top note that truncates that uber sweet element that you might get sometimes with tuberose, and this, from my perspective, makes it perfectly unisex. So it is quite fresh. You don't get the wholesomeness of tuberose that sometimes can be a bit too overpowering, because it is like truncated at the top with this sappy, piney, and fresh as well note. So one of the less known, perhaps, and at least from my experience, perfumes from Miguel Matos, but I think it's very well worth looking into if you're looking for something that is fresh, albeit having the tuberose in, right? And on Thursday, disappointingly from a rotation perspective, null entry. And this is because here in the UK, we're still having, now it's the last day, it's Sunday, we're still having the fragrance week. And on Thursday, I attended a couple of events, and I knew that, during those events, I would have been inevitably exposed and sprayed with a number of perfumes. Again, I attended a couple of events, like a masterclass as well, so I wanted to be clean and not radiating off any other fragrance, which was a good idea. So yeah, again, no entry. Friday, I had to go in to the office, so I wanted to wear something that gives me a little bit of a fresh kick to feel reinvigorated and deal with the long train journey that I had to experience. So what I went for is Ganymede extrait, and this, from my perspective, is it's very interesting, because you often hear that it's overpriced, and on that I agree. And the second thing that you hear quite often is that it was an unnecessary release. And on that, I agree a little bit less. And the reason why I'm saying that, it's because, from my perspective, this is, this is from Quentin Bisch. And obviously he's been proposing this DNA to the market in a variety of iterations. Perhaps the most famous one beyond Ganymede itself is Voix Imperiale from Essential Parfums, simply because that's the cheapest option that you have when you're looking into this DNA. But yeah, from my perspective, Ganymede extrait is the best and most mature iteration, because Quentin essentially introduced into the DNA myrrh, and myrrh makes it more resinous, and it also anchors the the synthetic fumes that inevitably with this DNA you'll be exposed to. And that to me makes it less screechy. Some people, you know, I understand that's the main critique that you get when you're talking about Ganymede. It is synthetic, it's a synthetic composition, but it has its merits. And this version makes it more rounded and more anchored to the ground with this myrrh slash resinous component. So yeah, that was my Friday pick. On Saturday we had a fairly cold start of the day, so that was a great occasion, a great opportunity to wear Beauty and the Beast from Areej Le Doré. I only have a relatively small decant at the moment, but I guess it will turn into a full bottle soon. This is one of the few that, surprisingly, it's still available on the Areej website. So what is this about? This is pretty much, at least from a scent journey perspective, is a fairly straightforward and pretty ordinary composition about rose and oud. The thing that makes it not ordinary, I think it's the extremely high quality of ingredients. It all starts with a blast of almost boozy rose. Such is the strength of that note at the beginning that almost burns my nose every time that I spray it, at least for the first maybe 5 minutes. And then in parallel you get a wild Indian oud blasts with the rose. So it is very punchy at the beginning. During the scent journey it smoothens down, it loses that burning element, luckily, right? Otherwise it would be a bit too extreme. But you will also get some cocoa accents along with the oud through the mead notes as well. And then so that will be the beauty components. It's all about the rose at the beginning, and the reason why this is called the Beast is because as it dries down, you will start progressively to smell more and more the resinous incense, and so you get that dark element towards the end of the scent journey. Very good performance, even from a projection perspective. This is something that you will smell for the whole day, and even people around you will smell most likely. And yeah, you get 10 hours plus in terms of longevity. So very good for the weekend, you know, where, you know, maybe you're out for the whole day. So this is like a statement piece for sure. And today is Sunday, and it's an interesting day because I am going to attend a Scent Club event, which is themed about 80s and 90s music and clubbing, right? So we've been encouraged to wear and perhaps share some perfumes, some fragrances that are either inspired or bring those kind of memories together. So what I'm going to pick today is Berlin by another Miguel Matos. This is from his own brand, his own house. I'm going to spray it now because it's going to be my scent of the day. And this, it's a very interesting fragrance because essentially, if you read through Miguel's notes, this is a fragrance that he developed for his own, for his trips to Berlin when he was, or he is, I don't know, attending raves and going clubbing and all that kind of thing. Interestingly, what I've done last year, I went to Berlin for my first time, and obviously I had to bring this perfume with me, and I really get what he wanted to achieve with this fragrance. You get a fairly dusty initial blast that comes from cumin, but essentially with some citrus notes as well. Yeah, the initial idea that you get from this fragrance is the idea of a closed environment where there's little air circulation and people perhaps are smoking. So there you go, that's the idea of the club. And to me this brings some memories from my childhood, from the maybe late 80s, 90s, where we had these public offices, maybe some like a post office where people were still allowed to smoke inside, and they had these plastic floors and all this kind of scents, maybe mixed with some, you know, warm air, no air circulation, and it really gives me that kind of scent memory, right? And perhaps even phone boxes, right? That's another thing that I always think of whenever I spray this fragrance. You know, people still now, if you still have phone boxes around, people maybe smoke in them, and when you step in, you get this ashy smoky blast of mixed with plastic as well. And by the way, during the dry down, this gets a bit sweeter. You have the vanillic aspect, the vanillin, and there is most likely some castoreum, so you get some grittiness, some gritty animalic notes as well. And this is essentially, from what I understand from the description, and I tend to agree, it's the you have the clubbing people, dancing together and sweating. I appreciate his ability of bringing this kind of narrative-driven sense, even if he's predominantly using synthetic notes and synthetic ingredients, and that's quite it's quite something. And let me say something wild. This is even now that I sprayed it again, if you want to consider something a little bit more complex and interesting than L'air du désert marocain by Andy Tower, this is one that I would consider as a suitable alternative. You have the spicy cumin aspect that you have also in L'air du désert marocain, but it's not as ashy and super dry as you have in L'air du désert marocain, but it gives you a similar idea. And then you have the whole evolution of the scent that, from my perspective, is a little bit more complex compared to L'air du désert marocain. Obviously, I appreciate that a lot of people will might feel this comparison as insulting, maybe because of the status that L'air du désert marocain has in the perfume community imagination and collective hive mind. But having it tried recently, I must say that I find Berlin, compared to L'air du désert marocain, a little bit more interesting in terms of complexity and facets that it has. It's certainly less ambery, but I think even if you look at the accords, you will see that there are some striking similarities among the two. And I said what my preference is, so it's I think it's more than a stimulating comparison, and perhaps an alternative to evaluate if you're a little bit bored by L'air du désert marocain. So this is all for today and for this weekly rotation. As always, if you like the video, the buttons are below. If you want to see more videos coming soon, subscribe, and thank you very much for watching. Goodbye.